good evening. I'm Dwan, and this is Audrey and Mariah, and we are here for Experience Mid-Valley Fellowship, our weekly drop-in to let you know what's happening in support programs for the week and the evening. Audrey, you're going to be facilitating a lesson tonight. What group are you facilitating for?
Mending the Soul.
And what is Mending the Soul?
Mending the Soul is a support group for survivors of sexual abuse and abuse. And okay.
Yeah. And what's the lesson that you're going to facilitate tonight?
We are finishing a lesson called Powerlessness and Deadness. And so we're going to be doing the deadness part tonight.
What's that about?
Yeah. When we experience abuse, sometimes we end up with numbing, just numbing our feelings, numbing our emotions. So we're going to address that tonight and talk about how that has damaged us and how that has robbed us of living a full life the way that God wants us to.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Mariah, you're also facilitating a lesson tonight. What group are you facilitating for?
So I'm facilitating a lesson for Hope Together for Women Year 2.
Yeah. And what is Hope Together?
Hope Together is for spouses of those who are struggling with some sort of sexual addiction, so it's support for their wives.
Mm-hmm. And there's a 2-year program, so you're in the second.
Yes.
Kind of the people who are halfway through their program at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the lesson that you're facilitating for them?
So the lesson is called Healthy Anger. Last week they did a lesson called Unhealthy Anger. So this week we're diving into what does interacting healthily with anger look like. I think a lot of times in Christian circles we're told that anger is an unhealthy thing. And so this lesson is talking about, no, actually it's an emotion that the Lord gave us to indicate that there's something going on. And so digging into it into a healthy way is a part of the grief process that we have to walk through.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. That's really good. I'm going to be facilitating a lesson too, which actually interestingly has threads in both of what you guys just said. So I'm going to be in Clean Heart Year 1. Clean Heart is for men who are struggling with pornography or sexual addiction, which it partners with the Hope Together program. And so it kind of coincides. So it's a 2-year program. This is first year, and they're going to be doing a lesson called Learning to Face the Pain. And so the part of the premise of that, there's a quote, and I don't think it's not in this lesson, it's another lesson. This sobriety is a commitment to reality at all costs. And so that so many times with addiction, there's painful things we don't want to see or we don't want to address. And so we numb out, like we're talking about deadness, that people just sort of want to numb and not feel. And that's what drives towards any kind of addiction a lot of times. And so really that sobriety is saying, okay, I need to look at things in reality. And even though some of those things are really difficult and painful, I have to look at it in the face and face it and address it in a healthy way. And so in some of that process is grief, which you mentioned in that as well, that certainly there's a grieving of losses that we've experienced kind of in our growing up years or things that were not invested or things that didn't happen that were supposed to. Mm-hmm. And so they get to explore the 10 most painful experiences of their life is the sort of what it says to do, to write out about each one of those and identify and so a lot of those the really formative, painful experiences tend to be early in life. That like 0 to 18 or 0 to 13 kind of range. And so then they identify those and they're going to dig into what are the lies that I believed as a result of those, lies about myself or about God or about other people. And then addressing, okay, so then how do I address that? What do I do with that? What's the truth? Some of that is forgiveness and grieving and feeling the anger, and other pieces are kind of going, okay, I don't want this to affect the way I live my life anymore. And so how do I live in a way that's engaged and connected and facing the difficult things, facing the pain, rather than numbing it and walking through life. So really big kind of lesson, one of my favorites in some ways, although it's really difficult, but I tend to be excited about difficult lessons. So that's just kind of the way it goes, because that's sort of the place in which we can sometimes find the most healing is in those difficult places. So that's a little window into what's happening tonight. Certainly these are some big topics and some big things. And so as always, this is a spiritual battle. And so we value your prayers and you partnering with us in that way. And so I just encourage you to pray alongside of us tonight as we walk with participants and walking through difficult things. And I encourage you to share this video, like it, let other people know about it. And then also you can come back here next week at about 5:45 when we do Experience Mid-Valley Fellowship. But until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping in.